if ever the chance came up to do something like a Choice album, you know, I just would cream myself. And then he emailed me and said, oh, yeah, you still up for doing it? And I wrote back and said, yeah, it's a dream come true. Like when I was first found out about it, I gave David a list. I'm not sure if I got it here. I think there was 100 songs. Yeah, so this is like the original list that we sent in, and there was loads of different things. And then it was really difficult to actually, you know, whittle it down, to get it down to I think we got it down to about 40 that we were going to try and clear, and I couldn't do it myself. I had, you know, a vague idea of things that I had to use, but then here's the cold cut that we used. For each track that I'd given in and rated it out of 10. Absolute mess at the moment, I'm afraid. That's all breakbeat. I mean, that is all totally mixed up. Around here, I've actually got this all organised. This is like mainly sort of old classics and shit, and a lot of the tracks for the CD came from here. Disc 1 is like, it wasn't planned really. I mean, you sort of plan it in a way, and you're always doing rough mixes on the decks, and you make notes of like things that work together. The original list was just very, very, very eclectic, and then by the time we'd actually gone through and sort of picked the ones that were the most essential, it kind of well, quite a pattern did kind of emerge, in the sense that all the tracks on disc 1 were, nearly all of them are tracks that I was playing when I first started DJing. So in the end, it sort of became like a 91, 92 sort of mixtape. Or if I'd made a mix album at the end of 92, which obviously I didn't, that is how it could have sounded in a way. And the second disc is a little bit more eclectic in the sense that it spans different eras. It's got tracks on there that go back to the 60s, and some later tracks as well, like the late 90s, like the Phase Action and the Black Science Orchestra. Nearly all the tracks on disc 1 are from a very specific era, which wasn't really planned. No, I think it came out like that because, you know, we were talking about the things that are most inspirational or influential to you as a DJ. And no matter what you do in later life, it's still those first few gigs, those first few records that you buy that stick in your mind the most. And we talked about it with Bill Brewster. We've been doing the sleeve notes, and you know, when you go to London for the first time for your first record shopping trip, it's a really big thing because you're working in a shit job and you can't afford it. You've got to save up for like 4 weeks to get 100 quid together to go shopping at Zoom. So those initial things that were you know, really big things, and that's why when we were sort of getting the track listing together, a lot of those early tracks sort of stood out. You know, like tracks from those first gigs at Bedrock, the first gigs at the Crypt. You know, like the Fire Island tracks were my first residency at the Crypt. What's it called now? I don't even know. This was where the Cricketers was anyway, where we did the first ever party. Me and my mate Andy Batsford. Because even that party was his idea. I mean, 60 people turned up. I was a bigger Prince fan than he was, but he was the guy that came up with the idea of like celebrating his birthday. So downstairs was like a bar, and they used to have like some pretty crazy lock-ins and DJs. Upstairs there was the tiny room that we hired for like 20 quid. We got a pair of decks and the rope light, and that's where we did the first party in 1991 to celebrate Prince's birthday. And shortly after that, we did a few of our own parties around Hastings called Totally Funked, which were a little bit inspired by sort of Daisy Age, De La Soul and sort of Jungle Brothers, that kind of thing. And we play a lot of Prince, just sort of mix up a bit and play some house as well. But it was a real mixture of sort of different styles. Shortly after that, my friends bullied me into taking some records to the Crypt on a Friday night. And I don't know why they did that, because they had a DJ playing there already, but I think my posse sort of turned up and were like, yeah, let him do half an hour, let him do half an hour. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it, I'm scared. But they made me do it. And that same night they gave me a residency. They said, okay, do you want to do every Friday night from now on? I'm like, what? So I ended up doing every Friday night at the Crypt, doing all night, which was like 10 till 2. And did that for, I'm not sure if it's like 6 months or 5 months. And that gave me a lot of experience. It's insane. You were saying you got the same amps you used to have, like, we used to play down here. I think I actually fell asleep while I was DJing. And it was during that time that one of my friends gave out a mixtape to Digweed. You know, I really did sort of get quite pushed into it, really, because I would never have had the confidence or I wouldn't have had the confidence to give Digweed a mixtape, for example, because at that particular time he just started doing the local parties and was bringing DJs to town. He had like Norman Cook, and he was, bringing various people over. Because I knew him because he was doing underground parties, but he was also doing the sort of weekend, weekday jobs in the normal clubs to sort of get some money. And so then a tape made its way to him, and then I got asked by him to open up at Bedrock on Hastings Pier. So from doing the Prince party to getting a slot at Bedrock all happened in the space of like a really short time. Style was there when I was a kid, and that's why I included some of the tracks from when I was a kid, because my family would always play music all the time, and my mum was a huge fan of Iron Butterfly, and she would always play Inagada Davida. So I grew up with like this 17-minute long rock epic with the brilliant drum solo in the middle. And then she was also into James Brown and Motown, and the rest of my family were into disco and pop, and my granddad was into classical and some jazz music and stuff. So, even like when I was really young, I was always into everything really, as well as some really embarrassing pop, like Wham and shit like that as well. This is all disco. That's all my pop shit. You got Bananarama. This is all the embarrassing shit from when I was young. Communards. Just regular. That's my James Brown section there. David Bowie. When I first started DJing as well, it was quite eclectic. Then I was playing a lot of really dodgy Belgian hardcore, a lot of Italian piano stuff, and then also a lot of sort of deeper American stuff as well. Because when I started to do all night at the Crypt, I didn't want to start off the night with Vortex or the latest thing on R&S or anything like that. So I used to get into a lot of deeper American stuff as well, and then got more into the deeper stuff when I started doing Bedrock, because obviously the warm-up slot that taught me quite a lot as well about opening up a room. When I first started doing the Bedrock warm-ups, initially, after a short time, it was a little bit frustrating for me. I was a bit like, oh, I'd like to do the main slot. But then after a while, I realised that it was an opportunity for me to actually be self-indulgent and actually make it something that I really enjoy. And it became like a slot that I ended up loving, and I still love now. So I do miss doing warm-ups. That's why I try and do all night. You do your own warm-up, you do the peak time, and then you close up at night as well. And it's a chance to go through all the different kinds of music that you are into, and a chance to do something a bit more worthwhile than just sort of turning up and playing 2 hours of DMC buzz chart. Yeah, I get really panicky. Yeah, I'm like from the first record, I'm walking around and I'm going, oh shit, there's no one here yet. And I go to the promoter. Oh, it's not very busy tonight, is it? And then like, well, the doors have been open half an hour. But then it's one of those things. Once you start settling into it, and you have to really think ahead and sort of keep quite a clear head because you might, even though the party could be in full swing, you still might have another 10 hours left if you're playing in somewhere like Montreal, or like Montreal you might play for 13 hours. So if you 4 hours in and you're playing all your big tunes, you're going to screw yourself up for later on. So you have to sort of keep quite a straight head and try and lay off the tequila a little bit if you can. Save that for the last half of the set. I'm gonna be focusing on doing like residencies in clubs where I feel comfortable and hopefully have a good relationship with the crowd, and also where I can go and play all night. Because I do enjoy opening the night. I enjoy taking responsibility for the whole thing. If it goes well, you can feel a bit proud, but if it goes wrong, you feel like shit. I enjoy residencies, but I'm not really the sort of person that enjoys doing a weekly residency or anything too regular. I think the most regular I've had in recent years was the New York one, which was monthly, but that was a real education for me because it was doing 10-hour set every month, as well as trying to keep it different each month as well. I'm also going to focus on doing residencies where I'm doing all night, so with Tokyo, London at the end, and LA, probably do Montreal and Toronto. Going to be nights where I go in and just sort of be greedy and do the whole thing. Still mainly vinyl though.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that?
You're a vinyl man.
Yeah. It's getting difficult these days though, to be honest. Like a lot of these events that I play at, a lot of the sort of clubs and stuff, they don't really look after the decks anymore.
Yeah.
And because everyone's playing CDs, so you find that a lot of you turn up to DJ, and decks aren't even turned on, or there's no cartridges on them or anything like that. And to play in New York and to see how much work goes into making sure the boxes, the DJ box is laid out properly, things, attention to detail in clubs makes you feel a lot more relaxed, and I think as a result you play better. Sometimes you get to a stage where you've travelled so much and you've seen so many different clubs, you think, okay, what's gonna knock me for six now? I've experienced that, I've seen that, done that. But the greatest thing is though, is like you never ever know what's around the corner, and then suddenly there's a gig that comes out of nowhere which just blows your mind, and it's like, this is the best gig I've ever had. There was a few gigs on the recent South America tour I just got back from, like Creamfields in Buenos Aires, and a few of the other parties were just mind blowing. But for me, the standout gig of the year, and probably the best gig of the last 3 years, was Tokyo at Woon. Just one of those parties that I was not expecting it to be that good, and you had to sit down at the end of it and go, did that really happen? It was that incredible. So no matter what you've done or no matter how long you've been playing for, there's always something unexpected lurking around the corner. I always, the good nights are not when I play a good set or when you've got a good crowd or when you've got good lights. It's when everything comes together, and it sounds really, really pretentious, but it's like being, I don't know how to explain it really. Everything comes together at once, and it just makes for a really magical evening. You can have nights where you play a great set, or you think you have, but it just doesn't work. It's about having all the ingredients in place, and when the lights work with a certain point in a track, and just being close to the crowd is important for me as well, so you can actually feel their energy, feeding off the energy of them, and hopefully vice versa.